My name's David Ledesma. I'm an independent consultant and I'm a fellow of the Oxford Institute of Energy Studies. And I must say I've really been enjoying the conference so far. It's my great pleasure to be here today, chairing the whole of the afternoon. So you've got the pleasure of me till 6 o'clock or until the bar opens, whichever's earlier. And we have, when I looked at this afternoon, I thought, wow, we've got a load of disparate papers that couldn't find another home. But in reality, I think we've got a really, really good session. And we're splitting into two, which will be divided by the tea break, which according to my timetable is about 10 to 4. So that's great. And what we're basically doing here is we're looking at what are the lessons that have been learned commercially and technically. I used to work for a boss who said, what are the kind of, the pitfalls for young players? I.e. the people who come into the business and they haven't seen perhaps the expertise and all the lessons learnt from some of us grey-haired people. So I think probably that's what this session's all about. We got starting off with Charlie Durr, who's standing in for Chris Casewell, and he's going to talk about the myths of LNG, which is really following on from the 2011 gas tech and building upon more of these. Kind of what are the challenges which I've been talking about and how can future projects apply to those. And then it's my pleasure to introduce Pete Thompson, who used to work with me, which is fantastic, and he works at Gas Strategies, and he's going to look more kind of the contractual nature, how contracts are changing, how does that work with the operational changes that we have in our plant. So that commercial, technical interface that really, really is important. So we're going to have kind of the technical and the commercial technical interface, and then we're kind of going to go to the second part of this kind of pre-tea session, and we're going to hear from Raphael Tilo, and also somebody who's not in your program. It's our great pleasure to introduce Deputy Gas Director Martin Folo from SNH, the state Cameroonian company. It's great to have you here. Thank you, Martin, for coming. Appreciate it. He got on off a plane this morning, so he had about 4 hours sleep. So if he starts to nod off, we'll just whistle, okay? So, and the two of those will make their presentation about a project that's under development, a really stranded gas one. And again, we'll see what lessons are being able to be learnt for that. And then we're going to end up, certainly last but not least, is Ahmed Taib, who is from Rathgas, a company. He has a title of Head of Business Planning and Optimization, which is a new title. That's not the one in the program. And he's going to be giving us really practical lessons as to what the Barzan project is and what are the lessons that have been learnt from that. Not something as an LNG and gas community we hear too much about. So I have to say, Ahmed, I'm really looking forward to hearing that presentation when we get there before tea time. So that really is it. I think the most important thing I feel about this is that, when you're driving forward in a car, you're always looking backwards in the rearview mirror. There are lessons that we should be learning from our industry. People think sometimes that's not important. I completely disagree with that. I think that there's a lot of grey-haired expertise on this podium. Apologies if you haven't got grey hair yet, but you know what I mean. And we can pass that on not only to each of us up here, but also to the people in the room. So I think that's all you want to hear from me. I will interject. Please, the plan is we've got 25 minutes for each speaker. I've asked them if they'll keep their comments between 15 and 20 minutes with the idea of having questions. I will ask questions, and as many of you have seen me chair before, you know my questions aren't very good, so therefore I'd like quality questions from the floor, if at all possible. And so with that, it's really my great pleasure to introduce Chris Casewell's a great guy, but you are now looking at true excellence when it comes to technical LNG, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Charlie Durr from KBR, who's going to talk about additional myths about LNG. Go for it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.